We are live. I never know how this works, but I'm so glad it does. Live, Facebook Live on the Help a Teacher Facebook page. I was looking today through the Help a Teacher page, and we have it's close to 500,000 educators at 430,000. If I got my comment in the right place, I think I do. Man, that is crazy. Just thinking back when Debbie started this and with just an idea and had a one teacher, then two, and then four and 10, it is amazing all that's happened on this page with educators and just coming together, the community and inspiration, and finding out how many people around the world have had an educator in their life that made a difference. And because of that, today they're willing to give back and support teachers. I love it. All right, let's get started. So everybody knows I play favorites. I'm an educator. I'm not supposed to play favorites, but I do. And I have my favorites I've had. I can't help it. There's teachers and administrators, superintendents, principals, the whole bit. And so I got this, in my mind. And even people I've never even been in person with and seen them. Here's how I can tell they're amazing. Like, I see their posts on Facebook, I see videos, all that, but what I do is I don't really look at them. I look in the eyes of the kids around them and the eyes of the teachers. I can just tell by the body language how much people love being part of that school family and how much the kids are loved. And Duana Brashear is one of them, and she's in Splendora ISD, and I can't wait to talk to her tonight. This has been a crazy couple of years for doing principaling, and we're going to talk about all things from going back to Hurricane Harvey. We're going to talk about capturing kids' hearts and the distinction that they won this year. We got a lot of ground to cover, not a lot of time, so let's get into it. Miss Brashear, Splendora ISD, how are you?
Hey, how are you, bud?
I am good. So we were talking about the challenge of right before we went live. We were talking about the challenge of pronouncing kids' names. And so one year, this is after a hurricane year. This might have been 10 years ago. I'll tell you a quick story. Story time is we had very, very few kids were back in school, maybe, I don't know, half. And so it was like, hey, don't do anything new. Let's just kind of keep everybody happy and connected and play some games, watch a movie. And so I ran down to the library to grab a movie, and the only thing they had the Dances with Wolves. Do you remember that with Kevin Costner?
Yes.
All right, so we watched that, and the kids loved it because they realized in the Native American culture they would use what they would see to name the people, and so we started doing it in our class. So we had like sharpens pencil, and we had late for class, pees a lot, cheats on his test. So the kids came up with all these names. So when somebody like you and the principal would walk in, and there's me talking, hey, somebody wake up, sleeps a lot. Where's late for class? Sharpens pencil, sit down. It was very bizarre for them. All right, so no, we lost her. All right, we're gonna get her back. Hang in there.
No.
Are you back?
All right. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I don't see you. Will you click off and then click back in, and I'll put you back on the screen?
Yes.
All right, here we go. This will take just a second. Yeah. Wow, we got so many people. All right. Hey, Mary, do you know Miss Brashear? Mary coming in strong with the heart. All the way from Michigan. All right, we'll see if we can get her back. Here she comes. I feel good about this one. Miss Brashear. I know. Ashley, you're telling me. Yes, I know. Let me see if I can get her back on. All right, here she comes. Let's see. I'm hoping. No. We had so much I wanted to cover. All right, one more time. Miss Brashear, I'm going to do this. Duana, I am going, if you can hear me, I don't know if you can, but what I'm going to do is I am going to click you off, and then you click the link and come back in. Okay? I hope that works. All right. Hey, in the meantime, let me tell you, I talked with a superintendent friend of mine, And is one of those school districts. He's one of those guys that really understands meeting kids' needs first. And we're working. We'll get to the content. We first have to set the foundation, and really just worried about the kids' needs. And when he found out how many kids just were struggling in terms of with basic just food, they counted on school for food. That family did for their kids. I mean, this guy went into action, and there's just so many stories like this where at this point they've been delivering 3 meals a day, 7 days a week. Bus drivers, teachers, help the nutritional services ladies that work in the district. And at this point they've delivered over 50,000 meals to kids. And what I love about that, kids are learning, and yes, we have them online and in Zoom, and they're getting some packets at the house for sure, all of that. But just what I love is how they identified what they needed first and foremost, and that became the focus of the district and that community. All right, let's see if we get her. I'm feeling good about this one. No, almost. We Miss Brashear, I wish I knew how to fix it. Hey, Rhonda. Yeah. Joyce. Yes, Joyce, go over to Brashear's house and help her fix her computer. Can you please? Yeah. Hey, Holly from Lindale. Hey, here's what other thing I was going to tell you about. And speaking of great districts, I'm going to try to get her on next week. Is Rhonda Turner out at Quitman ISD? I'm hoping you guys saw this. She, for these 2 weeks, next 2 weeks, they shut down all academic instruction. Have you seen this? I posted on my page. I'll post it here on the Help a Teacher page too. So Rhonda Turner, superintendent at Quitman ISD. I believe this could be wrong, but I believe they shut down all academic education for the next 2 weeks. It is all life skills at home. So like in the earlier grades, it's about measuring and baking and all learning, like with mom and dad, like doing those things. And then it goes all the way up to older grades where there's instruction and curriculum on how to change a tire, check the oil. And man, I love it. I love it so much. The fact that somebody is taking a dime to do something, and it putting families together where together learning. That's what homeschooling is really about. Yeah, and Rhonda letting us know that at her school is delivering about 600 meals Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Does not include the ones that come to the school for hot meals. It's amazing. That's what I'm talking about. Hey, Sarah. Yeah. James Tobin. Yeah, we do. I do some self-barbering and non-grooming at this point in my life. Yeah, Pat, that's what I'm talking about. It's everything just from shaking hands. I could, when I was teaching school, that was such a huge part of my first 2-week curriculum. It became, and I taught, high school kids, 10, 11, 12th graders, and very few of them really had the whole, just a standard morning greeting that lots of us take naturally. They just have never been taught for whatever reason. And those types of things. I mean, sure, I want to put some knowledge into that kid's noggin. I definitely want to deliver the content, absolutely, but I'm going to build that on the foundation of helping that kid. What I want is I want high performing kids, high academic performing kids of exceptional character. I don't want one or the other. I want both. I want a kid that is, intellectually awesome, as well as just a really, really good person. All right, let's see if we get Miss Brashear back in. I don't even know if she's she might be trying. Maybe she is going to try with a different. I'm going to try to call her. Hang in there. Would it be funny if I call her and she's yelling and screaming on the other end of the phone? Let's see if I can get her. All right. All right, here we go. Let's see if she answers.
Hello.
Duana Brashear, what's good?
What's up? Why are you kicking me out?
I want to get you on. Have you tried clicking one more time to try to come back in? By the way, everybody can hear you.
Good. I want everybody to hear me.
Okay.
I'm really hoping all my teachers are listening, and so that next time they're having technology problems, and when I'm doing a walkthrough, they can say, "Remember that one time you tried to talk to Hal Bowman in the world, and
Right.
your technology wouldn't work?"
Right. You want to are you able to click the link and see?
It's not even letting me open my messages right now. Like I'm in Facebook. Are you there?
Yeah.
Okay.
So how about okay. Not going anywhere. Don't worry, it's 500,000 teachers. No problem.
I know.
All right. I'm gonna try to. Do you want me to try to email the link to you?
Yeah, that would be good.
All right. It is paste. That is sent. So it's on its way to the satellite. Just be patient. It's about to rebound and come back down to you in Splendora, Texas. Hey, how far from Houston is your school district?
So Splendora is about 35 miles north of Houston.
Okay, here it says. It looks like you're trying to join. Oh my God, I think we got you.
Well, you have my ceiling until I go to the front camera.
Ooh, is that recessed lighting?
You're looking at my ceiling. I'm trying to get my camera.
Can you stand over your computer?
I mean, only for you, Hal. Only for you.
Oh! All right, let me hang up over here.
Am I in?
Yeah, you're doing it.
Yay!
That was exciting. Yeah, oh my gosh. Welcome back.
Gosh, I hope I was worth the wait.
Yes, here we go. Let's get into this. So, here's what I want to know. At what point in your career and in all the education and all the experience you've had and all the everything you've gone through, at what point did you start preparing to go through a global pandemic?
So that would be never.
Right.
So yeah, that would be never. What I will say is I think at the point when you start putting relationships first, whether it's everyday face-to-face, you know, as a teacher or a paraprofessional or a administrator, at the point that you start putting relationships first, relationships with your kids, relationships with your parents, with each other, that's when you start preparing for an epidemic. That's the day when you put relationships first.
You ain't kidding. And by the way, my daughter asked me this, and I have to get to the bottom of this. So we've been thinking about it. She says, is global pandemic redundant? Isn't a pandemic global? Like, is it a global epidemic, or then you can shift to pandemic? So we're going to get to the bottom of that, and then maybe you guys at Splendora can team up and collaborate to get to that answer.
Or maybe you can ask her, because kids always know the answer. They're always smarter than we are.
It's crazy. If we had an 8-year-old in your house right now, they'd fix this technology thing, no problem.
Oh, if I had a second grader or a first grader with me right now, I'll tell you who I wish I had is we have a fourth grader named JC Bieber, and he has just been tremendous. Anytime we have technology questions during Google Classroom, he'll be like, "Oh, Miss Stepp, do this. Miss Hayes, try this. Miss Brashear, I'm going to send you the right link so you can get into the right classroom and visit us." Well, if JC Bieber was here, he'd take care of us.
Yeah,
the kids always know.
Hey, how long have you been out in Splendora at Peach Creek?
So it's kind of a funny story. I started a couple years ago as an AP there, and I was an AP for a year. And then I left, and the principal position came open. So I ran back home and took the principal position. And I just finishing up my second year as principal of Peach Creek Elementary in the most amazing district in the world, Splendora ISD.
All right, let me ask you this. At what point did you know you absolutely loved it? Because, like every teacher has it, like you're just kind of feeling it out. Every educator has that moment where it's all new and it's all, it's overwhelming at first. And it's kind of the honeymoon period. At what point did you settle in and go, oh my gosh, this is the place?
Like Splendora.
Yeah.
So, for me, I was raised in the area, but I never went to Splendora. And this is going to sound really cliche, but it was the people. It was, the day I almost backed over my librarian by accident in the parking lot and she laughed at me. Or the day, one of my third grade teachers thought I was the maintenance director because I had a clipboard. It was just this feeling of, hey, you're home. And then, Dr. Burke came and he's our superintendent, and, he's talking about relationships, and he's talking about, community-based accountability and connecting with your community, and what do they want for kids, and how do you put kids first? And I just thought, this is what I have been waiting for my entire career. This leadership, this district, this people, like this is what it feels like to be home.
Yeah. It's interesting for me as I travel around the country, especially in August when I'm doing all the back to school convocation stuff. And I'll show up at a district, where a district that's, let's say, really struggling. And a lot of times in that convocation, I'll talk so much about test scores and how we're going to do something different this year and how we're going to bring them up. And then I'll go to a district that's really thriving academically, and they never mention it. And what's interesting is those districts that are struggling, many times the leadership there will say, well, they don't need to talk about it because they're doing well. And I'm like, no, you're thinking about the reason they're doing well is because that's not the focus. What the focus is the kids and the relationship and creating the family. And then we'll get to the test score stuff. We can always get to that, but let's build the foundation first.
Test scores always take care of themselves. There's two things you can control. You can control the relationships that you build, and you can control the quality of work that you design. What is the learning experience for your kiddos? What kind of relationships? That's it. Those are the two things. Test scores, that'll take care of themselves. My job as a principal is to take care of my teachers and take care of my kids and make sure that every person who walks through the doors of my school feels valued and important and connected and part of something bigger. I think the greatest joy for any educator, whether, you're a teacher or a counselor or a para, is to be able to sit back and look at your people and say, my kids are happy. My kids love school. They feel special.
Yeah. Hey, I'm wondering, since Jessica brings it up, she says that they make interviews feel like home too.
So Jessica, me and Hal were talking about you before we went live. Jessica is coming.
Is this the one you still?
Yeah, she's the one. I was so excited. She is coming to Peach Creek, and she is going to run my behavior program.
Yeah.
So she'll be taking care of my tier 3 behavior kiddos. We're super excited to have snatched her away from a different district. She is going to bring great things to Peach Creek.
That is so funny, Jessica, because I was talking about a principal I know who has no shame, and she says, you think he has no shame?
That's like me.
Yeah. And so here's the other challenge is with a different style. It's just different styles of leadership is sometimes there's a lot of talk, but when things get hard, and they always get challenging, then people forget about so sometimes we forget about the relationship and the kid component, and we get right back into the grind and then trying to hustle test scores and attendance and all those things rather than I'm just wondering, how do you guys do that? Because when things get really hard or really challenging, how do you stay focused on doing the right things the right way?
So there's a couple different ways. I'll say one of the biggest is that we really believe in the strategic direction of our district. We live by our mission of cultivating exceptional people. And when we didn't say cultivating exceptional students, we said cultivating exceptional people. Everyone, from the superintendent who's working on himself to our janitor who is working, to our maintenance workers, to our teachers, to our paras, we're cultivating exceptional people. And then our vision of doing the right things the right way. But I'll tell you, for us, and like disclaimer, I don't get paid by the Flipping Group or Capturing Kids' Hearts. I'm just a believer. We live the CKH process. Every day, it's part of who we are. We greet at the door every single day. We go over our social contract every single day. We share good things, and it doesn't matter if your reading block is 90 minutes or 120 minutes or 70 minutes. We do good things every single day. We launch out every single day. When we communicate through email or written communication, we're using the Excel model. Yep. Putting people first, putting relationships first. I think Holly just wrote that, in the comments, is that's who we are.
This is what I talk to people about when people ask me, hey, which program should we go with, this character counts or character first or capturing kids' hearts or this or that. I always say, hey, listen, man, if they are all terrible if you run it terribly, and they're all great if you run it great. But of all the ones I've actually personally experienced, the Capturing Kids' Hearts really, you know what it is? It is the effectiveness in the simplicity of it.
Yes.
And it brings back why we all do this job. You can't help but build relationships and become an integral part of kids' lives using that model.
And I'll tell you, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's not going to work unless you work it right.
Yep.
And we do good things from the top to bottom. Really great example. So, we had spring break, and then the next week, the COVID thing starts. And so we don't go back to school. And then finally that next Monday, they bring us all in, the principals, the director, the superintendent, the assistant superintendents. And so we're in focus mode. We got to get this COVID thing figured out. How are we going to teach our kids? And even in that high stress situation, even in that moment of we have to get things taken care of, we did good things. Yep. And we revisited our social contract because that's who we are. That's what we believe. In our kids, our kids will call you on it. We have a distance learning social contract. Our kids check each other. Those hand signals. Yeah, come to Peach Creek, mess up, they'll check you.
Right.
And I always for my numbers people, there's some people that are show me the data. What I'll tell you is when I took over Peach Creek, we had almost 700 referrals, and we're a small school. We only have 427 kids, and we had almost 700 referrals. We started Capturing Kids' Hearts, and we hired very intentionally people who put relationships first, people that love kids. And we cut that in half. We were down to 322. This year at spring break, we had 67. Do the math.
Yeah, right. It's
in
amazing.
2 years, 700 to 67.
And I think it's just like anything, it has to, even with the kids, like we were just talking about, I have to show it if I'm going to grow it in kids. Yeah. They have to see if they're going to be it. It's the same thing in terms of leadership, where if I really want my teachers doing that, I was recently, before the COVID thing, I was at a school, and the principal was concerned because lots of teachers weren't greeting kids at the door at the high school. And so we sat down and I asked the teachers at our little small group how many, what they would estimate, what percent of teachers are greeting kids consistently, daily, an appropriate greeting every day. And it was, 10, some students, 20%, 30%. And then I asked the principal, what percent of the time are you greeting teachers as they're coming into the door, into the school in the morning? And it's almost as if, as in terms of leadership, we have to earn the right to ask for that, because that's who we are. They have to see if they're going to be it.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think, it's really easy to do those things on a Monday or the first week of school. But day in and day out. And sometimes, you just have to be transparent, and you have to, my AP and I, if I'm running late to a faculty meeting, I'm texting him and I'm saying, hey, I need you at that door. And he's like, I'm there. I gotcha. you just have to be prepared to do it, to just make it happen, whether it's easy or hard. It just has to be part of who you are. If you ask me what percentage of my teachers were greeting at the door, I wouldn't even hesitate. I tell you 100%, 100% of the time, every day, every time.
It's amazing. And, just when I see school leaders take it seriously, that's when it's fun. I recently spoke, this is maybe at the end of last year, I was at the Dubisky Career Center where Dr. Kristen Booth was a principal, and she's at the Flippin Group now. And I was setting up about, our meeting started at 8. I was setting up about 6:30, and she was in there at 6:30. The whole time for an hour and a half, she's walking around with little name place cards, trying to figure out where she's going to sit teachers with who for this particular meeting, and taking that time to set them in the right place for this experience, and then greeting every teacher. And then after I was done, she got up and did the launch after my whole full day experience. It was just cool to see, like, you really have to walk the walk.
Yeah. And it's I'll tell you, it's so funny because talking about the launch, I get on every day, like rain or shine. And I always say, all right, as always, have fun, work hard. And then the whole school screams, be awesome. And it just like rumbles the wall. And it's the best part of the whole day. So earlier this year, I was like, I'm going to be creative. I'm going to come up with new launches that we can do together. And I was like, all right, we're going to do a new launch. It's going to be one team, one dream. And I'm like, one team. And they're like, cricket, cricket, cricket. Right. And so I saw kids in the hall that day. I'm like, you don't like my new launch? And they're like, no, give us our old launch.
Yeah.
Give us our old launch.
It's interesting. I remember kids, once we established that morning greet at the door, when you realize how important it is and what ingredient it is in the recipe, when I'm not there, something happened, I had to run to the desk or something, and I realized there's nobody in the room and the bell's about to ring and they're still in the hallway thinking, well, we're not going in. What are we doing? Like, this isn't how we enter the room. It's cool. Yeah.
We had kids that decided they wanted to be morning greeters. And so they assigned themselves to greet out the door in the morning. So they were greeting at the door in the morning, and we launched in the afternoon. And I think it was funny. I think I saw somebody come across say that it was difficult as a high school teacher.
Yeah.
Getting ready between classes.
With the art prep, the art room.
Man, me too. And I'd love to just address that really quick. Because, for us at the elementary level, we have family time in the morning. And so that's a lot of time, like, teachers are working with kids as they walk in. And so we have guest greeters, and don't know how that would work for a high school. If you can find, one kid per class to be your ambassador and to get there first and greet at the door. I'll tell you, as a teacher that's prepping, one of the things that I think you can get away with is if you're multitasking and you're prepping to where, like, when kids are walking in, you're saying their name. Hey, John, so glad you're here. Like your haircut. Hey, so-and-so. Hey, so-and-so. And just finding a way, whether it's, having kids come in and help you prep, or, shutting down the last class a little early, or calling them by name while they walk in. Yeah. That human connection, the first 2 minutes of class makes the rest of the class bearable. I promise.
It's huge. And in the way that I would always talk to teachers about it, obviously I'm a believer in it. And mm-hmm. when I would go to speak for a while there, I was going to Sam Houston State University and a few other universities, and, and kids were out doing their student teaching. They come back to turn in the portfolio they think matters. And they would spend the day with me, and they would ask, like, what, like, give me, like, what I'm going to start teaching, in 2 months. Tell me what. And if I had to do one thing, it's greeting kids at the door. Yeah. Greeting them and sending them off, it's so critical, because it eliminates so many behavioral issues, so many classroom management issues. And with the ambassador approach, I call it Walmarting, which is at the Walmart, man, the store manager is too busy. He can't greet every customer. So they get an ambassador to stand at the door.
Yeah. I'm telling you, you want to be a believer, see 5-year-olds do it. Yep. I have kindergarten teachers that, like, you walk in and, like, they're on you. They're just like, I mean, and like I've signed their contract like 500 million times because you can't tell them no, they're 5.
Yeah.
And they're like, would you like to sign our contract? And I'm like, yes, I would. And they take out the little stamp and I put my thumb and I put it on the contract and they hand me a YB. And I mean, they're 5. And the teacher just keeps doing her thing. She is just teaching while those, I mean,
Yeah.
they know they're 5. They'll get it. You want to be a believer? Watch a 5-year-old do it.
One of the cool schools I visited prior, it was a few years ago, and man, I can't remember the name of the school. It's somewhere in New Mexico, and they created their 5 pillars of the school, and every teacher had their own thing. And so what it was is it was this, the kind of the character of the school. They created these 5 pillars, and when you were a visitor to the school, you had to go in, and they had a student that would take you to they actually had pillars in the school with the character trait painted down it, and everybody signed it with a Sharpie. So if you're going to come into the school, you shine, so it's everybody's name, and there's the expectation that you signed. Those types of things. Hey, let's real quick, let's make a difference in, there was a young lady about to have her
first interview. I saw that.
Here, Molly.
God, Molly.
Okay, here's what I know. Duana, listen. Lots of people, when they interview for a job, they are so terrified. Here's why. For most teachers, this is the first time they've ever been in a principal's office.
Yeah.
They were never, and nothing good has ever happened in the principal's office. They've only heard stories, what went in there. So if you could, and now of course this is virtual, but if you could give someone, when you're a principal, what are you looking for?
So first of all, virtual interviews are hard. We conducted all of our interviews virtually. I mean, Jessica, who's on here, I hired her through a computer screen. And she's already part of our family. We've taken her. We like her. We're not giving her back. The best advice that I can give is to be authentic. And I think when you're fresh out of college, you got into education because you love kids and you love students. And you don't graduate from college with all of the perfect pedagogy or the perfect knowledge and the perfect skills. But if you're talking about being a nervous wreck and being excited, it's probably because you love kids and you want it really badly. And it's okay to say that. It's okay to say, I'm so excited. I'm ready to teach. I'm ready to learn. I'm coachable. And the best thing you can say in an interview is that you value that's what I want. I want to hear a teacher say the word relationships. Relationships are important. I love my kids. I want them to be happy. And I also want a fresh out of college teacher to tell me I'm open to feedback. I'm open to coaching. I just want to be better for my kids. One of the most amazing teachers I ever hired. I hired her fresh out of college. She's a rock star. She just finished her second year. And that's what I knew. I knew within the first 5 minutes. Number one, I knew she was a great teacher. Number two, I knew she was a 3rd grade teacher. I brought her back. I moved people around to get her in 3rd grade. And that's because she talked about loving her kids. And she does. She loves them. She moved in a neighborhood where she's surrounded by all her kids. And that's what I look for. I want someone that loves their kids.
I think it's okay. I think you're right to be a nervous wreck, and the more nervous, the better, almost, because sometimes that nervousness that is in direct relationship to how much you care and how much you want to be good. And if it's someone's first year and they're coming in, too overconfident, I don't know. I just feel weird about it because I was terrified.
Me too.
Yeah. And then, the other thing is we had a first year teacher on here, Cassidy Carroll, and because I just love watching her post. And one of the things within the first week of her teaching, she had a big sign on her door. We are learning, and I had her the lesson for today. Please come in and give me some feedback. Yeah. And she had a form for teachers to come in and stand in her classroom and watch her teach the 3rd day of teaching and give her feedback. I thought, oh my gosh, we have 25-year veterans that lock the door and put the construction paper over the skinny window with chicken wire in it so nobody sees what's going on. I love that.
I'll tell you, I was an AP. And I love doing walkthroughs. I love giving feedback. I find, a very selfish joy in growing people and building capacity in others. And so one of my teachers, she teaches 4th grade now, very first day of school, the first year I was there as principal, she said, you don't wait 2 weeks. Oh my God, it's her. She just came on, Christy Stepp. She said, you don't wait 2 weeks to do walkthroughs. She goes, I want you in the very first day. I want feedback the first day. That was and she's on right now. She just commented, my kids will wait at the door until I greet them. They will. They're bossy.
Yeah.
But that was, great teachers want feedback. Absolutely.
And Holly talking, I like how Holly clears up our language for us. It's not that they want to be greeted. They need to be greeted.
Yeah. Sometimes you're the only person that makes eye contact. And I want you to think about that. Because other adults might talk at kids or over kids or across the room. You might be the only human that looks them in the eye.
Yeah.
That makes that human to human eye contact. That's powerful. What a huge responsibility.
It really is. And that is why I love when you're talking about your custodial crew and your paras and everyone. We like we always say, we have so many job titles on the campus, but we all share the same exact role, and that is to make a difference in the lives of kids. And just the eye contact and talking with a child engaged in the moment, that is to let the kid know that they're significant and that they matter. And you're right, like just the bus driver, like that oftentimes is the first person lots of kids will see in the day, because mom and dad might be working, they might be asleep, they just might be off doing nothing. The bus driver might be the first one, and that eye contact, the high five, the hug, the knuckles, like whatever, so critical.
Let me give some teachers on here, principals, superintendents, take care of your bus drivers because they are taking care of your babies. If you are a principal or a superintendent, you buy them shirts. If you are a teacher, you send them gift cards or Sonic drinks when they pick up those kids. You take care of those bus drivers because they are the first ones taking care of your babies at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. You take care of those bus drivers. They're taking care of your babies.
When I my first job, that was part of the deal. Since I was the band director, music teacher, you had to drive the bus because it was a tiny school. So for Friday night football games, I had to drive the bus. And I couldn't even imagine the stress of that. I don't want to drive. I can't even imagine the pressure. And fortunately, I got out of it because they had really old buses and the seat was bolted to the floor and they couldn't move it up. And at 5'3", I couldn't reach the pedals. So I'm like,
so you got out of it.
I did. They had to find somebody like a 5'6" person to drive it. Yeah. So talk to me how it went down for getting the national distinction, the recognition for capturing kids' hearts. This is crazy. And I think people don't understand. Sometimes they don't know all what goes into and how rare and unique of an award this is.
Yeah. So our junior high started the journey for us 3 years ago. They were the very first Splendora campus to start capturing kids' hearts. After their second full year of implementation, they were named a national showcase school for what they were doing with relationships. And so the rest of us started following suit. We started really living the process, doing everything. And so this year we were nominated, which is a big deal to even get nominated. I mean, we were like celebrating and screaming and hooting and hollering. We were nominated as a national showcase school, and then COVID happened. Yeah. And, part of being a national showcase nominee is they come and they visit. And we had already done the interview parts where they had talked to us. They had done some visits with parents and kids, like during the initial process through an online platform. But they didn't get to come and they didn't get to come and see like the magic happen. And we were devastated. And we were like, this is it. Like there's no way. And so, we really didn't know what happened. They emailed and they said, hey, we'll keep in touch. And so we just kind of kept going on. We just did what we did. We loved on kids. We, really used social media as a platform to connect. Our Facebook, we went live, everything. And then about, I don't know, like a month later, we got an email and they said, all right, please come to this meeting. And in the meeting, we were announced as a national showcase school for our continued focus on relationships and putting kids first, all the great things that we do. And in fact, every campus in our district is a national showcase school. There are only 6 in the entire country who are national showcase districts, and Splendora is proudly one of those 6.
It's an amazing achievement. And this is what I love. Here's what I love. I love just the work of getting that recognition, because what it takes is a whole bunch of people 100% engaged in the process of what you said, just loving kids relentlessly, especially when it gets hard.
And I think I love how you said it takes everyone. And I'll tell you a really great story. We had just started CKH. We were about 4 months in. I was a baby principal, and I had a baby secretary, and we were just figuring it out together, trying not to ruin anything or mess up anything. We just both loved kids. And I knew if we loved kids, we'd be okay. And we had gotten our very first flipping group walkthrough, and they were just walking through the buildings. And we also house the behavior unit. So our kids who are, emotionally disturbed, they go to our campus. And we had a kid having a real hard day. And so, of course, one of the staff members is down on the floor talking to her, loving on her. And he comes out and he's like, man, that teacher did such a good job. And I said, oh, no. I was like, that wasn't a teacher. And he goes, who was that? And I said, well, that's my secretary. And he's like, your secretary was on the floor with a kid? And I said, well, yeah, we only hire people here who love kids.
Yeah.
And so it takes everybody. It takes the janitor. Our janitors love our kids. Our janitors greet our kids at the door every day. They will stop what they're doing to love our kids. Our maintenance workers will sign, God love them, because they just keep signing the social contracts over and over and over. It takes every single person. I am one person, and I am very humbled and blessed to lead Peach Creek. I am honored to be their principal and to serve them, and I don't ever forget it. But it's my teachers. And when I say teachers, they know what I'm talking about. A teacher is, a para, a lunch lady, a custodial. We all are teaching something. When I say teachers, I mean all of us, like my family, my Peach Creek family. And it takes every single bit. It takes every inch. There's two ingredients. People always ask me is because I'm traveling around, I see all these different schools around the nation. They think what is the difference? And that's half of it that we already talked about, is everyone has a different job title, but we all have the same role, and that is to teach kids. Mm-hmm. Your title might be, it might be food services, it might be third grade. We're all teachers, and that's your classroom, wherever that is. It's the front office, that might be your classroom. The hallway, that might be your classroom. The traditional 4 walls and a door and window, a skinny window on the door, that's your classroom. And the other thing is exactly what you're talking about, is the shift happens when every single person on campus is convinced 100%, just absolutely convinced that they are solely responsible for school culture. When they're when they're walking across the parking lot and looking at the doors, they're about to enter, they're thinking, it's up to me and only me. I'm in charge of school culture here. When everybody really adopts that and believes that, from the custodian to the secretary, the principal, the teacher, that's when you come across these amazing campuses. When you step through the door, it's like, oh my gosh, this is a magical place. Well, it's funny because I've had people, we get a lot of people that visit Peach Creek, before all this, and, see what we do and watch us. And so I get 2 really funny questions. The first one is, oh my gosh, these kids are so good. And I'm like, these are the same kids that had 700 referrals 3 years ago.
Yeah.
We also house the behavior unit. So, and yes, our kids are good. But, our kids are loved. All kids are good. Our kids are loved. And the second one is, and this is my favorite question. How do you make your teachers do that?
Yeah.
How do you make your teachers? I'll tell you, it is nothing for me to be walking through a building or going in through walkthroughs and to see a 4th grade teacher in a 2nd grade classroom, just visiting, just hanging out on a conference, just loving that kid that she connected to in the bus line, who she noticed walking down the hall sad this morning. It is nothing for our teachers to go in other people's rooms and love other people's kids and, connect to grade levels above and below. I don't make them. I don't make them greet at the door. I don't make them love their kids. That is who they are. And I think that's who we've let them be. We have said, it's okay to love your kids. It's okay to hug your kids. Yes. Tell them you love them. They're tired. Their parents fought 8 hours last night and they didn't sleep. Give them a beanbag, a juice box, and a blanket. Let those babies sleep. It'll be okay.
Yeah. For me, it's always how are we going to do it as a school? Like, okay, how are we going to do it? How are we going to raise the test scores? How are we going to improve the grade? That for me, it always becomes the smallest part when we figure everything else first. So the first question is the what. Okay, what do I really want for my kids as a result of them spending their lives with me in that classroom? What's the ultimate lesson I want this kid remembering 30 years from now
Yeah.
because they were in our classroom family? That's my what. Then I think about, okay, now why? Why these kids? Why Splendora? Why this classroom? Why this family? Why am I doing this? Why this profession? I get my what, my why. Then who do I need to be? If this is really going to happen, who do they need me to be for them? Because I know for sure I am the limiting factor in my classroom. It's
Yeah.
me. I'm the ceiling. So who do I need to be for those kids? And once I get those three things figured out, my what, my why, and my who, how we do it, I don't know. It just kind of falls into place and becomes such a small thing compared to everything else.
You would be shocked at what a kid will say if you ask them, "What do you need from me today?
Yeah.
How can I help you? What do you need from me?"
Yeah.
And they'll tell you, especially your older ones. I mean, they'll tell you, what do you need? What do you need? You are the deciding factor in what kind of day they have. I tell my teachers all the time, we are so blessed because there's only 24 hours in a day, and 8 of those hours are spent hopefully asleep. The other 8 are either with their parents in the morning or afternoon, and then we get a solid 8. We get 1/3 of their day. What are you going to do with your third? Because you get 1/3. So what are you going to do with it?
I think it's even, man, I would venture to believe if you really looked at the quality of time in those 8 between the 2/3 that they're awake, our third and at home, because I'm not talking about those kids from that part of time. I'm talking about all kids. I'm talking about kids with 2 parents and fantastic jobs,
Yeah.
buried in their cell phone, buried in it, lost in the cell phone, not very little direct interaction with kids, with direct conversation, human being to human being, that connection, where I'm going to say most kids, 90% in their life happens inside the school.
Yeah. And so, I'll tell you, I've got this just random philosophy that most of our educators get into education because they love kids. They want to make a difference. They love kids. And then somewhere, for some reason, whether it's, a boss or personal things, or for whatever reason, we forget. Like, we forget that it's okay to love kids. And, teaching is a skill set. Teaching is something we work to refine. We learn new techniques. We learn new ways. Loving kids doesn't change. And, I think sometimes we forget. I think sometimes teachers forget that it's okay to love kids. It's okay for that to be who you are. That I'll tell you, I was a good teacher. I'm even better at loving kids. And I'm even better at building relationships with kids. So it's okay. It's okay for that to be your strength. Kids will learn from people they like. I think Rita Pearson said that. Girl wasn't lying.
Yeah, rest in peace.
Will learn from people they like.
Yeah, but I mean, it wasn't that long ago where I think we had principals still looking for that answer in the interview. I don't care if they like me, but they're going to respect me. Well, that maybe 1974. I don't know, but not this generation. It is true. If they don't, I'm going to say love. If they don't love being there and love the family that we create for them with that classroom, then they're just not going to learn at the level that is possible.
Yeah, no, I agree. Kids will do exactly what you expect them to do. If you expect them to come in and to love you and to build relationships and love their friends and their class and their school family, that is what they're going to do. Kids will do exactly what you expect them to do. You get to set the expectations.
Yeah. What's interesting. I mean, people sometimes think that we're having a kumbaya conversation, but what's interesting for me, I'm like old fashioned. I want teachers teaching and learners learning. That's it. But what I've come to know for sure, without a doubt, if teachers are going to teach at the level where we and set the expectations where kids are going to learn at that level, it has to build on a foundation of
Yeah.
love and connection and relationship and family. That's really why I love it.
Well, and I think what we forget sometimes is, you can still, as a leader, as a principal or a superintendent, or a team lead or a mentor, you can still hold people accountable and let them love their kids. I'll tell you, my teachers work hard. God, they work hard. They work hard on refining their craft. They work hard on providing high quality, dynamic, in your face instruction. They work hard on design. We don't lesson plan, we design. We have design meetings. They work hard, but they love their kids too, and they get to be excellent at both things. They get to be excellent at both, and that's my responsibility as their principal, is to let them be excellent at both.
Yeah, I think it works that way too. That again, man, that's the foundation. The reason we can expect teachers to work hard is because we expect them to love their kids. And the reason we can expect our kids to reach those expectations of working hard is because we love them.
Yeah.
It always comes back to that as the hub for everything that we do.
Yeah. Well said. Well said.
Hey, so I got to ask. So this is what I always want to know, and we were talking about my friend Jeff Springer when he was at Magnolian High School. That was a conversation that started that prompted what you and I were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Is I was looking around in his trophy case. He'd been there for years, and he has all these trophies. And it was at the high school level, these academic trophies, athletic trophies, the band, the drill team. I'm looking around all this stuff, these banners of everywhere. And I'm like, what's next, man? And so that's kind of the question, because this is one of those national distinctions that is so rare and just so amazing. As we're moving forward for the next few years, because I mean, it's obviously that you and your school fam, kind of a goal-centered folk over there. What's next for you guys?
So two things. We're really excited, and this had kind of started ramping up even before we were named. We love hosting other schools. We've had several other schools come to campus, visit our classrooms, see what we're doing in terms of culture and relationships. So we love hosting that. But our biggest, most exciting thing is the blended learning. So our teachers are delving into the world of blended learning. We're really going to focus on personalizing the learning experience for every student. We have successfully implemented standards-based grading in kinder and first. So before COVID, we had talked about moving to second grade. I think we'll probably maybe put a halt on that. We'll see. But definitely blended learning. We're going to be doing a lot of planning this summer and training and gearing up to be the best. We're already the best at relationships, so we might as well be the best at teaching. So that's what's next for Peach Creek.
I love it. Hey, here's a little secret. So, now I'm not always fired up every day, and sometimes when I'm in a lull, there's a couple of things I do, and one of them is on my phone. I have some tabs and some favorites, and going to see what you guys are doing at Peach Creek is on my list of inspiration tabs.
Aww.
And so I want to say thank you for all that you've given to me in my life. But of course, more than that is all those hundreds and hundreds of kids that will forever talk about being in school at Peach Creek. And, 30, 40 years from now, in Splendora ISD, when they're at the Marriott over by the mall, because you guys will have that soon because Houston's expanding.
Yes, it's coming our way.
They'll be sitting next to the Best Buy and talking about you and your staff and all the amazing memories, and still greeting each other and all the inside jokes and the stories that they always tell. And I just love that they have that in their lives.
Well, thank you. I am very blessed with a group of teachers who put kids first. And so it makes my job very, very easy to be part of a district that puts kids first and relationships first. And, we don't focus on testing. We believe kids are more than a score. We live it every day. So I'm very blessed to be part of a district that believes that, and to have to just have these teachers who believe it and live it. And it's funny. We had the Chronicle on campus today interviewing some of our teachers, and one of my teachers said, she was a kindergarten teacher. She goes, if Duana called us tomorrow and said, you're done, you don't have to teach anymore, she goes, we would still teach. She's like, that's funny. She's like, we would just keep teaching. And so that's the kind of teachers I have on my campus. And I'm a very blessed leader.
Now, I love that they're having that right now in their lives. I think for most educators, we have these pockets of time where, certain years, just like we all do, that were just amazing. And some of the people I taught with at school, thinking back to, we'll sit and still talk about, do you remember that? God, do you remember how much fun that was? Like how early we would get up and race to school, and we'd be there for so long. And so we didn't even know we were working. It was just so much fun. And I just love that they have that in their lives right now. Like, it's still hard work for sure. It's still emotionally draining. Absolutely. But when you compare it to other years, like, I know for sure this is just a time I'll think about forever.
I love what you said about that it's hard, and that even when it's hard, teachers are tired. So we are lucky enough to have a new third grade teacher this year. She just finished her first year. Her name is Jordy Wells. Her dad is Lyle Wells. He's one of the guys with the flipping group. And so she came and worked for us. And about halfway through the year, I walked by and I see her, and I know she won't mind if I tell this story. And so I see her in a room, and like, she is crying. And I'm like, what is wrong? And she's like, this is hard. And I'm like, I know it is hard. And I said, but you know what? Your kids love you, and it's supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be hard because it matters. And it's funny because my first year as principal, my assistant superintendent walked in, and I am like ugly crying. And I'm like, this is hard. This is the hardest thing I've ever done. And he said, it's supposed to be hard. When it's hard, it matters. That's why. So, even when we put relationships first, and even when we love kids, it's hard. And I think this is a really appropriate conversation to have because it's Teacher Appreciation Week. So, it's the week that we get to intentionally celebrate teachers, and what they do is hard. They are magnificent. I am humbled. I am overwhelmed. I am aghast by the things that our educators do. So,
yeah. I love it. I love you. Thank you so much for all you give to your kids and your teachers and to us. And we really, really appreciate you.
Well, thank you for having me. I always love when we get to hang out.
It's awesome. I'm telling you, man, I made a commitment last time, and it's going to happen as soon as we get rid of the bug. I'm heading up there for a day and just going to hang out at school and hang out with kids, and I can't wait to meet your fam.
So I'm gonna hold you to that, because when all this is over, we're having a big like Peach Creek. We always do a summer bash at Peach Creek. We get like blow up and water balloons, and like the kids meet their teachers for the next year. Just a big party, hot dogs, hamburgers. We're gonna have the biggest one ever this summer, and you're coming. You're coming to our Peach Creek bash.
Don't you listen? I'm not. I can't compete with your fifth graders, but I'll win. I'll beat the third graders at some stuff. I know
because we play minute to win it games. Be ready. It's happening.
I can't wait. Hey, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for having me.
All right, have a good night.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.